Hey guys, what is going on? Lego Man 123 here, back with another video, and welcome back to another tier listing making video, where today in this episode, I'll be ranking my favorite The Legend of Korra villains. So without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off, we have Amon, and this is the first villain we actually get introduced to in Season 1 of The Legend of Korra. Now, we do learn that he isn't actually a bender of any sort, so he's not like a water bender. And then he also does have like a scar on his face, so that is why he does wear a mask. And that is a total lie, as we learn in an episode closer to the end of it. I believe it's like the second last episode of Season 1, and he's actually the brother of tarlock, and like he actually is a waterbender and a very skilled one. He's also a bloodbender, and the scar he does have on his face isn't actually a scar, so he makes up a whole lie to actually hold the truth and like to hide the truth from other people, which I think is a pretty good skill. Like, he can very easily lie to people, and he's a very good bloodbender, and he does hide that for a very long time. So I might possibly put him maybe in A, because his backstory is pretty dark, because he didn't actually start out as a bloodbender, and his father and Tarlock's father was like the crime boss at Republic City and a pretty big bloodbender, and like their father actually taught them bloodbending and all that type of stuff, and it was a pretty serious sort of topic, and I really like the whole sort of idea what Amon does have in Republic City. He's like the sort of leader of the chi blockers and all that type of stuff, and people can definitely fear him because he uses blood bending to actually stop elemental power, like sort of chi block them. So I thought that was definitely really cool. Next we have Asami's dad, and at first he seems like a really nice dad because like he's pretty rich. He like helps Korra's and then the fire ferrets in the pro bending sort of tournament with like getting, I think it's like $100,000 or something like that, and like he seems really nice. But then we actually learn a bit about him, that he's actually creating like weapons and sort of mechs for Amon. So that was pretty sad to actually see that he was hiding this really big secret under the mansion they live in, and Asami has never known this, so I thought that was definitely really sad. And then the idea that he did it because Firebenders actually took away their mom, or well, Asami's mom, so he wanted to get like revenge on him and stop like elemental powers and like firebending. So I thought that was definitely really serious and pretty interesting, and I really liked how he tried to sort of stay loyal in a way, because he didn't want Asami to know about this, so he tried to stay really hidden about it, but then they eventually did find out, so that was quite sad to actually see Asami all shocked and all that. So I might possibly put Asami's dad maybe in B. Next we have Garzan, and this is one of like the main four people in the Red Lotus, and he is a lava bender, which was really interesting to see because I believe this is the first time we're actually getting introduced to lava bending. It's also a really useful actual elemental power to actually have, because it definitely is really effective, and like you could create like a bunch of lava and all that, pretty dangerous. And then I also like how he was like with Zuhir and then also the other three members of the White Lotus, and I thought it was definitely really interesting. So I might possibly put him maybe in second position in B, because he does actually get, I believe, killed in the season finale of Season 3. Then we have kurevera, yeah, and I thought this was definitely a really interesting villain, because she doesn't actually start off as a villain. I believe it was in Season 3, like she's like one of the sort of soldiers for Sue, and she's actually quite loyal to the sort of Earth nation, so I thought that was definitely really cool. And she's also really helpful because like she was helping wound up, or like help the soldiers who got hurt with wounds and all that. She was trying to help them, so I thought that was definitely really nice of her. But then during like the 3 years, she actually decides to take action herself alongside Batar Jr., and they begin to just change like the sort of Earth sort of kingdom and nation. They like conquer it themselves and all that. So I thought that was definitely really serious, and I really liked how she actually stepped up a position and took this sort of responsibility. But then we actually learn the truth that she's actually doing this for herself. She wants power and all that type of stuff. So I thought it was quite cool to actually know about that. And then she like has a bunch of mechs, a pretty big army from like all the villages she went to. She like had a contract for them and all that. And then she had this really big giant mech thing with like a laser on it, because the laser was actually made from like the tree vines from the spirit world, so that was pretty interesting. Or it was like the massive tree in like the swamp, and then like that was really cool. So I might possibly put her maybe first position in A, because she's definitely a really great villain, and I really like her motives and her ambition. We have Min Hao. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly, but very sorry if I am not. She is a real interesting character because she actually has no arms, but she can actually use water to create arms and tentacles, which was definitely really cool. And to actually grab onto stuff, she can change like the top part of the water arm and actually turn it into ice and grab onto stuff, which was definitely like really cool to see, because like that's some really advanced water bending. So I thought it was definitely great to actually see that. She can have two arms, she can have a bunch of tentacles, and she can be very skilled and probably easily beat like a lot of other waterbenders because of this skill. And she's another member of the Red Lotus, so I might possibly put her maybe below, maybe in third position in B. Next we have Pali, and this is another member of the Red Lotus, and she's actually in a relationship with Zuhir, and she is a combustion bender, which is someone who has a third eye, which is on their forehead, and they can like shoot out like sort of massive explosions and explode a bunch of stuff from like the mind and all that. I thought it was definitely really great to actually see another combustion bender, because the one we actually saw in Avatar: The Last Airbender was actually hired by Prince Zuko to actually kill the Avatar and also like bring him the Avatar and all that. And he was Sparky Boom Man. I really liked how we got to see another combustion bender named Pali. I thought it was definitely really nice. And to see her in action was definitely really great. But then she does die, because as she's about to like shoot, Sue actually does like metal bend like her armor onto her face, and like it explodes, which was definitely pretty interesting to see, but pretty brutal to see as well. So I might possibly put her maybe in second position in B. Then we have Tarlock, and this is a really interesting character because, in my opinion, I don't think he's like a major villain. He's sort of a villain because he's a councilman on like the Republic City, so he like helps out a bunch of people and all that. And he's also helping like the Avatar and all that for like advice. And then Tenzin, who is Aang's youngest child, is also on the council, so like they have some debates about stuff and all that. At first, I was like, yeah, he's a pretty nice guy, but then we actually sort of learn the truth about him, that he's like mischievous and tricky and all that, because he actually does get into a fight with Korra, and he does use bloodbending and all that, so that was quite interesting to see. And then he actually plants a bunch of fake evidence, so then like Tenzin and all that would think that Korra was actually kidnapped by Amon and the Chi Blockers, but it was actually Tarlock who did it. So I really like that part because it shows that both Tarlock and Amon are very good at lies, and I thought that was definitely really interesting. But then he does tell the truth to Korra and Marco about who he is, and then who Amon is. Like, his real name is Noatak. Amon's real name was Noatak, but then he actually changed it, and then Tarlock was like the sort of weaker child in bloodbending. So I thought it was definitely really interesting to hear about that. But apart from that, he's really not a big villain. It's just like until like the sort of few final episodes of season 1. But I might still possibly maybe put him maybe in third position in B. Next we have Unalaq, and this is Korra's uncle, and this is a really interesting character because he actually has a really big knowledge on spirits. Like, he can do some really cool sort of moves to actually calm down and actually make sort of evil spirits sort of disappear. So I thought it was really interesting, and his mode is to actually reopen the portals on, I believe it was the southern tribe of the water tribe, to actually make the spirits go back down. A bunch of stuff was happening between like the spirits and the southern water tribe, so it was definitely really interesting to know about that. And then we had like a whole backstory about him. Like, he actually does have a brother, and his brother is Korra's dad, and like they had a whole debate about it. So I thought it was definitely really interesting about that. But then we actually learn the truth that Unalaq is actually a pretty big bad guy, and he is also a member of the Red Lotus, but he actually did leave it, or he might be still in it, but he's like, I'm not really sure, but he actually wants to have Vaatu, the spirit of pretty much anything evil, come out of the Tree of Time and actually combine, which is definitely something pretty dark and pretty evil, because Zuhir didn't want to do this. He just wanted to take out the Avatar and wipe out the Avatar cycle, but Unalaq had a completely different idea. So I really like that sort of idea that the Red Lotus was made to create sort of chaos and almost like chaos and order at the same time, and to destroy the Avatar. But Unalaq had a much more darker sort of idea on what he wanted to do, because as I did say, at first he seemed like a really nice guy, but then we learned the truth that Korra's dad was actually banished because of him. There was like this whole sort of spirit war going on, and we learned that Korra's dad may have been the cause of it. And then like Korra got really angry, but then Unalaq was actually the person behind like the whole thing. So pretty evil guy. So I might possibly maybe put him maybe in second position in A. Next we have Vaatu, and this is like the sort of definition of evil, because he's like the spirit, what causes like chaos and all that. So I thought it was definitely really cool that we actually got a villain, like the sort of origin of evil, and then that type of stuff. I really like the backstory on him, because him and the good spirit, I've actually forgotten her name, so sorry about that. They have a battle, I believe, every 100 years, or every 10,000 years, something like that, or it might be like 1,000 years. So I thought it was cool, like they did a battle between one another to decide the fate of the world. But then one who was the first Avatar actually accidentally like split them apart. So then Vaatu became like much more stronger, and then the good spirit, she became a lot more sort of weaker. So then there's this sort of training part, one actually preparing to face Vaatu on harmonic convergence, which is when the two portals on the southern and northern water tribe actually combine, and like the sort of a blue sort of force field like thing comes over Earth. So I thought that was definitely really interesting. And then one actually does defeat Vaatu, because the good spirit and him actually combine, and that is what creates the first Avatar from like touching or like putting his hand into the portal, and then the good spirit and not Vaatu, but one actually stay together forever until he actually does die, and then the next Avatar is created. But Vaatu was actually trapped for, I believe, like 1,000 or 100,000 years, but then Unalaq actually did set him free, and then they combined powers to actually make a dark Avatar, which is something pretty sort of evil to actually do, because Zuhir had like no idea Unalaq would actually do something this evil, because he was part of the Red Lotus, Unalaq, but he actually sort of disconnected from everybody else and set on his own path to defeat the Avatar, and setting Vaatu free was definitely something pretty dark. But I really like the villain Vaatu, because I think it's really interesting how he got like an evil spirit on like evil. So I might possibly put him maybe second position in A. We have Zuhir, and this is like the sort of main leader of the Red Lotus, and I find this character really interesting, because as the no airbender, because he doesn't have an elemental power, he's actually pretty spiritual. Like, he definitely knows a lot about airbending, like Groot Pakrikita, something like that. He was like the sort of spiritual person of airbending. He learned how to fly, which was definitely really cool. And Zuhir is like a big sort of follower of Groot Pakrikita. Like, he definitely knows a lot about him, and especially airbending, even though he is not one. But then on harmonic conversions, a lot of things actually do happen. Some people in Republic City and other places scattered around the world of the Legend of Korra actually get airbending, and Zuhir is one of them, and he believes it's like his almost like destiny, and he was like chosen for this task. My only problem was with Zuhir actually getting airbending. I wish he wasn't like as skillful as like a lot of airbenders and also like a bunch of Korra's friends and all that, because he's being locked up in a really secure jail cell for a very long time, and then as soon as he gets out, he's like a really skilled airbender. That was my only problem, because he might have trained in the jail cell and all that while he was locked up, but I feel like he shouldn't have that much sort of power of airbending when he only just got it, because it does take a lot of time to actually become a pretty skillful airbender, and he was just like showing off and all that with all his skills. But it was definitely really cool to actually see him, and I really like the idea. Well, it's not a good idea, it's a pretty bad idea, but I thought it was really interesting how he wanted to actually have chaos stop. He wanted to like take out sort of leaders and all that. He took out the Earth Queen. He wanted to actually, I believe, take out the president, because he felt like that sort of order and all that was actually stopping sort of stuff from happening. So he wanted to actually stop this, and it was just really confusing, but I thought it was definitely really cool. And then his idea was to actually take out the Avatar, because no one actually needs the Avatar, because it's just sort of a whole idea around like the Avatar is almost like a leader, and like she's basically telling people what to do, and she's like stopping sort of peace and all that, because people want to take her out, and it's just causing a lot of chaos. So then he does put actually Mercury in Korra, which was definitely pretty shocking to actually see that he would do such a thing. And then the fight between Korra and him was definitely really cool, but then he does get re-locked up, and I really liked how he still like meditated on that, even locked up, and then Korra actually does go for him for guidance about stuff, because he actually can go to the spirit world pretty good, considering like Korra took quite a while, but she's not sort of that sort of spiritual person, and then Janora can go there. So I thought it was definitely interesting how a non-airbender could do all this type of stuff with not even doing airbending, but then when he does learn it, he definitely is a pretty skillful one. And then his sort of plan is a lot more sort of less darker than Unalog's, but I thought it was definitely really cool nonetheless. So I might possibly put him maybe in first position in A. Next we have the Earth Queen of Ba Sing Se straight down in D, because the power she does have as the ruler of Ba Sing Se, I think she just uses it as an opportunity to tell people like what to do, and uses the power to sort of not make fun of people, but actually use that power to be really bossy and strict to others who are like lower rank than her. And during harmonic conversions, when a lot of people actually learned they were airbenders, she actually does kidnap them, the ones in Ba Sing Se, to actually teach them the sort of skills and all that type of stuff to be her personal army, which I think is not too big of like a villainous move. It's pretty sort of strict and all that to actually teach the sort of young children and like adults to be her personal army, and if you don't like cooperate, you can get in loads of trouble. She's also like quite the perfectionist, because at her sort of rank she wants everything to be perfect and all that. I really wouldn't call her like much of a villain. She's just really annoying and all that type of stuff. And the last king, or like ruler at Ba Sing Se, which was a lot more nicer as a ruler, and then this one was quite strict, really annoying, because like she just wanted everything to be perfect. She just wants everything her way, and if she doesn't get it, she could be quite angry and furious. And then when Korra actually does come, she's actually quite sort of worried, and she wants like everything to be perfect, because if Korra actually finds out the truth, and like Marco and all that find out the truth, then like she's gonna get like in big trouble, and she might actually lose the power she does have. So she wants to like hide the truth from others as good as possible, so then she doesn't like lose the responsibility it's not really a responsibility. She doesn't want to like lose the power she does have over others, because she wants to rule as much as she can over others. So I thought I would come back and do a couple of changes. So I might move Tarlock maybe into maybe second position in B, and then I might move maybe the Earth Queen maybe in, no, I might keep her in D, and then I might move Min Hao, hope I'm saying that correctly, maybe in that position there, and then maybe move Peely, maybe. No, I think she's in a good position there. So this will be my final results. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video as much as I did making it, because I really did enjoy sharing my thoughts and opinions on the Legend of Korra villains. I would definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, and definitely expect more tier list making episodes on the Legend of Korra, because I do have a couple more ideas to go. So as always guys, hope you guys did enjoy this video, and can I see so goodbye.